Let me tell you something most people learn too late. Success doesn't begin when the world believes in you. It begins the moment you do. Stay with me until the end, because the final lessons will truly change how you see your life and yourself. Success starts with you. And I want you to really let that land, not as a motivational sentence, not as something pretty you nod at and move past, but as a truth that settles into your bones. Because long before applause finds you, before results validate you, before the world agrees that you are worthy, there is a quiet moment where nothing exists except you and your belief. And that moment decides everything. I've seen it again and again in people across cultures, ages and circumstances. The ones who move forward aren't always the most talented or the most prepared. They're the ones who stopped outsourcing their power, who stopped waiting for permission, who realized that life doesn't tap you on the shoulder when it's your time. It responds when you decide to show up anyway. Imperfect and unsure but willing, success doesn't start when the door opens. It starts when you walk toward the door even before you know if it's unlocked. And that requires a kind of inner courage that no one teaches you in school. The courage to claim responsibility for your life without bitterness, without blame, without excuses. So many people say, I'll start when I'm confident. But confidence is not the prerequisite. It's the reward. It's what grows when you take action despite doubt. Like a muscle that only strengthens when it's used. And the truth is this: the world does not respond to your potential. It responds to your posture. How you stand in your own story, how you speak to yourself when no one is listening, how you treat your dreams when they are fragile and unseen. Think of a seed buried deep in the soil. No sunlight, no applause, no reassurance, yet it grows anyway. Not because conditions are perfect, but because growth is encoded within it, and you are no different. Except somewhere along the way you were taught to forget that your power is innate, not granted. Success begins the moment you stop asking, "Am I ready?" and start asking, "Am I willing?" Willing to be misunderstood, willing to fail forward, willing to learn in public, willing to trust yourself before anyone else does. And here's something few people will ever tell you. Waiting for external validation is like asking the mirror to smile first. It never happens. The smile must come from you, and only then does the reflection change. I've watched people with limited resources create extraordinary lives simply because they decided that their circumstances would inform them, not define them. And I've watched others with every advantage remain frozen because they never made the internal decision to begin. This is where spirituality quietly enters the conversation, not as ritual or belief, but as awareness. The understanding that there is a force within you that responds to intention, that when your inner alignment is clear, your outer life reorganizes itself to meet you halfway. When you choose yourself, not selfishly, but consciously, you send a signal to life that you are ready to participate rather than observe. And life responds to clarity far more than it responds to perfection. Imagine your life as a long road shrouded in fog. You don't need to see the entire journey. You only need to take responsibility for the next step. Because movement creates visibility and stagnation creates doubt. This is why success always starts internally. Because action without inner ownership collapses under pressure, but action rooted in self-belief compounds quietly over time. There will be days when no one claps for you, when progress feels invisible, when your effort seems disconnected from results, and in those moments the only thing that sustains you is the relationship you've built with yourself. The promise that you will not abandon your vision just because it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. This is where many people quit, not because they lack ability, but because they lack self-trust. And self-trust is built the same way anything sacred is built, through consistency, through showing up even when it's hard, through choosing faith over fear in small unglamorous moments. Understand this deeply. The universe doesn't test you to see if you're worthy. It tests you to see if you believe you are. And every time you take responsibility instead of retreating, every time you choose courage over comfort, you reinforce the truth that success was never something you needed to chase. It was something you needed to allow. And if this thought stirs something inside you, stay with me, because the lessons ahead go even deeper. And the next truths will challenge how you speak to yourself and how you face fear itself. And I promise you, you'll regret it if you leave before the final points unfold. But for now, sit with this. Success starts with you means your healing matters, your awareness matters, your willingness to grow matters more than your resume or your background. Because when you shift internally, you stop living reactively and start living intentionally. You stop asking life for permission and start co-creating with it. You begin to understand that delays are not denials, that setbacks are not signs to stop but signals to refine, and that nothing is wasted when you are awake to the lesson. This is the foundation. Without it, ambition becomes anxiety and achievement becomes hollow, but with it, even small steps feel purposeful. Even uncertainty feels sacred because you know who is walking through it. Success starts with you when you choose to stand fully in your life, not as a victim of circumstance, not as a spectator of other people's dreams, but as the author of your own becoming. And this is only the beginning, because what comes next will change how you listen to your inner voice, how you interpret fear, and how you build a life that doesn't just look successful, but feels deeply, undeniably true. So stay all the way to the end, because the most powerful transformations always begin quietly, and the most important lessons are still ahead. Your inner voice is either your prison or your path. And this is one of the most uncomfortable truths to face, because it means the greatest force shaping your life is not outside you, not society, not your past, not even your circumstances, but the conversation you are having with yourself. Every single day, often without realizing it, that voice wakes up with you, walks beside you into every room, narrates every success and every failure. And over time, it becomes the lens through which you see what is possible for you. And I've learned that most people don't fail because they lack talent or opportunity. They fail because they believe a story about themselves that was never questioned, never challenged, never consciously chosen. Think about how many times you've said, "That's just not me," or "People like me don't get to do things like that," or "I'll try, but I know how this ends." And notice how quietly those sentences shut doors long before life ever gets the chance to. Because your inner voice doesn't wait for evidence, it creates it. Like a script handed to the universe saying, "This is how my story goes." And the universe, neutral and responsive, simply says, "All right, let's make it so." The danger is not negative thoughts, because thoughts come and go like clouds. The danger is identification. The moment you stop seeing thoughts as passing weather and start seeing them as truth. Because then your inner voice stops being a guide and becomes a guard, locking you inside familiar limits, disguised as safety. I've met people who speak to themselves with a kindness they would never extend to anyone else. And I've met brilliant, capable souls who would never tolerate from a stranger the way they talk to themselves in private. And this is where awareness becomes revolutionary. Because the moment you notice your inner dialogue, you interrupt its power, you realize this is a voice, not a verdict. And that realization alone can change the trajectory of your life. Faye, imagine walking through life with a commentator who only points out what you did wrong, what you lack, what could go wrong next. Over time, even joy begins to feel unsafe under that gaze. and courage starts to feel irresponsible. But imagine instead a voice that says, you're allowed to learn, you're allowed to grow, this is hard, but you're still here, and suddenly the same life feels navigable, expansive, even sacred. This doesn't mean lying to yourself or pretending everything is fine. It means choosing truth over cruelty, because there is a difference between honesty and harshness. And your inner voice should be honest enough to help you grow, but compassionate enough to let you breathe. So many of us inherited our inner voice from someone else. A parent's fear, a teacher's doubt, a society's limitation, and never stopped to ask, do I still need to carry this? And the moment you ask that question, you reclaim authorship of your inner world. Spirituality lives here quietly, because awareness is the gateway to freedom. And when you become conscious of your thoughts, you realize you are not your fear, not your past, not your conditioning. You are the witness, the chooser, the one who decides which voice gets the microphone. This is why meditation, reflection, and stillness are not luxuries, they are necessities. Because without pauses, the loudest voice wins, and the loudest voice is usually fear dressed as logic. I remember moments in my own life when the inner voice said, don't risk it, don't stand out, don't fail publicly. And had I obeyed it blindly, my life would be smaller, safer, quieter, but also incomplete, because growth demands a new inner language. Oh, nay, that says, I don't know yet, but I will learn. I'm scared, and I'm moving anyway. I trust myself enough to begin. And every time you choose that voice, you lay another stone on the path forward. Here's the subtle truth many people miss. Your inner voice is trained by repetition, not intention. So it's not enough to want to think differently. You have to practice thinking differently, especially in moments when it matters, when you fail, when you're rejected, when things don't go as planned, because those are the moments that shape your self-concept the most. If, in failure, your inner voice says, see, I knew it, your world contracts. But if it says, interesting, what can this teach me? Your world expands, and over time that expansion becomes confidence, not the loud kind, but the grounded kind that doesn't need constant reassurance. This is how your inner voice becomes your path instead of your prison, by aligning it with growth instead of protection, curiosity instead of judgment, faith instead of fear. And if this idea is stirring something inside you, stay with me, because the lessons ahead are even more powerful. And the next truths will reshape how you experience fear, discipline, and purpose itself. And you'll regret missing the final points where everything comes together. But before we go there, understand this. Your inner voice is not meant to eliminate doubt. It's meant to help you move through it. Because doubt is part of being human, but paralysis is optional. Life will test you, people will misunderstand you, plans will fall apart, and in those moments the only thing standing between collapse and resilience is the tone of the voice inside you. Where that voice says, I can't, your body listens, your energy drops, your vision narrows. But when it says, I'll try, something opens, something softens, something strong emerges. This is not magic, it's alignment, because your inner world and outer world are in constant conversation. And the quality of that conversation determines the quality of your life. So begin to listen, gently but honestly. Notice the patterns, notice when your inner voice sounds like fear pretending to be wisdom, and choose again, because choice is the beginning of freedom. Remind yourself often that growth sounds messy on the inside before it looks graceful on the outside. That discomfort is not a sign you're failing, but a sign you're stretching. And that no one who has lived a meaningful life did so without first learning how to speak to themselves with courage. This is only the second step of the journey. And what comes next will challenge how you relate to fear, effort, and discipline in ways that can transform everything. So stay until the end. Stay for the final lessons. Because the real secret isn't just changing what you do, it's changing the voice that tells you who you are allowed to become. And once that voice becomes an ally instead of an obstacle, there is no limit that can truly hold you, because the path forward was never blocked. It was waiting for you to hear yourself differently. Discipline is self-respect in action. And this is where many people misunderstand what it truly means. Because discipline has been falsely painted as punishment, rigidity, or a joyless grind, when in reality discipline is one of the most loving commitments you can make to yourself. It is the quiet decision on to honor your future. Even when your present emotions are tired, distracted, or uncertain. And the reason this lesson matters so deeply is because talent without discipline is potential that expires. And intention without discipline is a promise repeatedly broken to yourself. Discipline is not about being harsh or perfect. It is about being devoted. The same way you show up for someone you love, even when it's inconvenient. Because love understands that consistency builds trust, and trust builds safety, and safety allows growth. Think about the areas of your life where you feel most confident. They are rarely the places where you felt inspired every single day. They are the places where you showed up repeatedly, sometimes mechanically, sometimes reluctantly, but faithfully. And over time, your effort compounded into ease, clarity, and strength. That is discipline working quietly in the background. Not asking for attention, not demanding applause, but transforming you from the inside out. Spiritually speaking, discipline is alignment. It is the practice of bringing your daily actions into harmony with your deepest values so that your life stops pulling you in opposite directions and starts moving as one integrated whole. Without discipline, ambition becomes anxiety because you want more than your habits can sustain, and that inner conflict drains your energy. But with discipline, even small goals feel grounded because your actions and intentions are finally speaking the same language. Many people wait to feel like it before they act, not realizing that feelings are followers, not leaders. They take their cues from behavior. And when you act with discipline, motivatio, N eventually catches up like a late but loyal friend. Imagine a river carving its way through stone. It doesn't rush, it doesn't force, it simply returns to its path every single day. And over time, even the hardest rock yields. This is how discipline reshapes your life. Not through dramatic moments, but through gentle, repeated commitment. There were moments in my own journey where no one was watching, where the work felt thankless, where results were distant, and it was discipline, not inspiration, that carried me forward, reminding me that the life I wanted required a version of me I was still becoming, and that becoming is always uncomfortable. At first, discipline teaches you how to keep promises to yourself, and this is where self-respect is born, because every time you follow through, you send yourself a powerful message: I can trust me. And that trust becomes the foundation for confidence, resilience, and inner peace. When discipline is missing, self-doubt grows louder, because somewhere inside you know you are capable of more, but capability without commitment feels like betrayal. And that internal tension shows up as frustration, procrastination, and self-criticism. Discipline is the antidote, not because it makes life easier, but because it makes you stronger, calmer, and more centered in who you are. This doesn't mean rigid routines or perfectionism. It means conscious structure, choosing what matters and returning to it even after you fall off, because falling off is human. Quitting is optional. Discipline with compassion is far more powerful than discipline with shame, because shame drains your will, while compassion restores it. The most sustainable discipline comes from remembering why you started, from connecting your daily effort to a larger purpose, from seeing each small act as a prayer for the life you are building. And if this idea is resonating, stay with me, because the lessons ahead are even more powerful. And what comes next will shift how you experience gratitude, purpose, and fulfillment in ways that can change everything. And you will regret missing the final points where it all comes together. But before we move on, understand this. Discipline is not about controlling life. It is about creating inner stability so life cannot control you. It is about having an anchor when emotions fluctuate, when circumstances shift, when motivation fades. Disciplined people are not immune to doubt or fatigue. They simply refuse to let those states make their decisions. And that refusal is a form of spiritual maturity. When you practice discipline, you stop living reactively and start living intentionally, because your actions are guided by values rather than moods. And that is the difference between drifting through life and consciously shaping it. Discipline also teaches patience, because it reminds you that meaningful results take time, and patience is faith stretched across time. The belief that your effort matters even when evidence is delayed. This is why disciplined people appear calm under pressure. They are not calmer by nature, they are calmer by practice, because they have learned to trust the process rather than panic at the pace. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you reclaim a piece of your power. And power is not dominance or control. It is self-command. The ability to direct your energy where it truly matters. There will be days when discipline feels heavy, when your mind negotiates, when excuses sound reasonable. And in those moments, remember that discipline is not asking you to be exceptional forever. It is asking you to be faithful today. One day, one choice, one return. That is how transformation actually happens. Discipline is how dreams move from imagination into embodiment, how intentions become identity, how hope becomes lived experience. And here is the quiet miracle. Once discipline becomes part of who you are, effort stops feeling like sacrifice and starts feeling like expression. Because you are no longer forcing yourself to act against your nature. You are shaping your nature through action. This is the fourth step of the journey, and it prepares you for what comes next. Because without discipline, gratitude is shallow, and purpose feels overwhelming, but with discipline, both become grounded, sustainable, and deeply fulfilling. So stay until the end, because the final lessons reveal how discipline transforms into gratitude, how gratitude unlocks purpose, and how purpose gives meaning to everything you've worked for. And once you understand discipline not as restriction but as devotion, you will never again see consistency as boring or effort as heavy. You will see them as sacred, as proof that you respect yourself enough to build the life you say you want, one deliberate step at a time. Gratitude is what keeps success from hollowing you out. And this truth often arrives quietly, usually after you've achieved something you once prayed for and discovered that the feeling didn't last the way you imagined it would. Because achievement alone is a moment, but gratitude is a state of being. And without it, even the most impressive life can feel strangely empty. I've seen people reach milestones they chased for years only to feel restless days later, already scanning the horizon for the next thing. And I've learned that this isn't ambition, it's disconnection, because when gratitude is missing, success turns into a moving finish line, always ahead of you, never letting you arrive. Gratitude is not about lowering your standards or settling for less. It's about grounding your ambition so it doesn't consume you. It's about remembering that growth is meant to expand your life, not estrange you from it. Spiritually speaking, gratitude is presence. It's the practice of inhabiting your life instead of constantly escaping into the future. And when you are present, even ordinary moments begin to feel meaningful. Even progress feels nourishing rather than exhausting. Think of gratitude like roots on a tree. Without them, the tree may grow tall for a while, but the first strong wind will uproot it, and success without gratitude is the same. Impressive on the surface, fragile underneath because it has nothing anchoring it to joy, humility, or perspective. Gratitude reminds you where you came from, not to keep you small, but to keep you whole, to help you remember that every chapter of your life contributed to who you are becoming, including the difficult ones. It teaches you to see abundance not as excess, but as sufficiency. The quiet realization that even as you strive